Hello, welcome to this week's episode of Conversations with an Investor. We're back at it, all things mindset. This week, we've got the Mount Mindset Meetup, the inaugural event where we're going to climb the real mountain, a place that's very special to myself and a few close friends that have ascended that hill when times are great, when times are tough, when things are challenging. And what that hill represents is the ability to get on top of your mindset. In this week's episode, I'm going to cover off something that's pretty interesting. How do you get high productivity? How do you get the most out of yourself? What's the secret sauce? Why is it that people get stuck? How is it possible that people get stuck on this? So there's loads of videos out there about how you can get ahead in life, motivation, everything's all rosy and shiny and it should be great. And lots of people seek that answer and they get an initial spike or a feeling. It feels good for that moment. Why does it disappear? Where does it go? Why does it leave? And a lot of the time, I'll see people that want a goal in life and they'll be missing something. There's something that isn't quite firing for them. And they'll say to me, look, how is it that I get on top of this? How can I get this outcome that I'm looking for? Well, what I'm going to be launching very, very soon is the 14-day Mount Mindset Challenge. And it's an accountability challenge. And that's a challenge to you to say, look, there is no more messing around. If you are serious about making a commitment in your life and you're ready to go all in, and you want the step-by-step formula that's been proven to get you there, that success formula, are you ready to go for it? Are you ready to do what it takes to get there? And that 14-day challenge will give you all the tips to do it. A literal walkthrough where I give you videos and advice and the tips and what to do and how to do it over the space of 14 days, regardless of what goal it is that you want. So, what I'm going to do in this episode is give you the first 3 days. I'm going to give you an overview of the first 3 days of that program and what to expect and why it is much simpler than you think. And what you're probably going to see here is a few of the missing pieces that you've probably noticed that are missing from your strategy if you've tried it and it hasn't worked for you yet. So one of the greatest tools that you can have when you're getting involved in a new venture or a big plan or a big goal, right, is a massive commitment, right? And massive commitment means that you have stood in to making a change in your life. You've put yourself in that position where you're going for it and that you have a big outcome that you're looking for. And surprisingly, when you make that massive commitment, you will notice a change in yourself, and that change is sometimes feels daunting and sometimes feels a bit scary and sometimes feels like you've bitten off more than you can chew. But that's good. That means that you've taken the right step. You've went into the uncomfort zone, or the discomfort zone, should I say. When you're uncomfortable, that's when you're growing. That's where you're improving as a person, because no growth is found in the comfort zone. So if you feel a little bit uneasy, that's good. So keep doing it. Commitments, no matter how big, only require two things. And this may blow your mind. It only takes two things to make them work, right? The first is that you need to make that huge commitment to the thing that you're going for. But more specifically, you need to know exactly what that is. It needs to be clear what you're doing. Like, for instance, if you were saying, hey, look, I'm just going to go out a drive, and you jumped in your car and you drove around your housing estate, or you drove around your town, you aren't actually going anywhere, but you're doing lots and lots of action, but without any result in mind. But if you've got a clear destination in mind, as in you're here and you want to get to there, then you need to know what that destination is so that you can aim for it. So you need to be crystal clear on what it is that you want, right? And not what you don't want, because that's what people fall into, a bad habit. Well, I don't want this, I don't want that. Forget that. What do you want? Where is the destination you would like to go? You don't worry about the hurdles and obstacles. That's normal in every single challenge. That's normal in every single endeavour. Because if it was straightforward, everyone would do it. And what we're going to give you is the ways for you to overcome the obstacles and beat the hurdles so that you can get to whatever destination. So first thing is get very, very clear on what that destination is. And the second thing is consistency. You need to go at it every day and not take your foot off the gas. Do not take your foot off the accelerator. Keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going. It's the endurance that you require to get you to the point where you're going to commit to this massive plan to get this great outcome that's clearly defined in your mind. And it may get hard and it may get tricky, but keep your foot on the gas, keep the momentum going. And what I would ask you is, let me ask you this now. Have you ever had a time in your life where you just couldn't be knocked off your stride? Maybe you were doing a sport, maybe you were focused on a project, maybe you were out training, but you just had it. You were just in flow. You could not do anything out of shape. You couldn't do anything wrong. You just had that total focus. Well, what happens there in the flow state is that you become very harmonic. You're in harmony. So your thoughts are in line with your feelings, and your feelings are in line with your actions, and that represents itself in your body and your physiology. And when you have complete harmony between your mind and your body and how you feel, that's when you get into peak condition or peak state or flow state, as it's sometimes called. And you know, on the face of it, it sounds actually quite simple. You think, well, you know, it doesn't sound too hard to get that, you know, figured out. So why is it people find it so elusive? Why can you not get in the flow state all the time? Well, the reason being is that people will focus on one part of the system, because, as I said, you've got how you feel, what you focus on, and what your physiology is doing. So you've got to line up your thoughts and your feelings and your body. And people might get 1 out of 3 or 2 out of 3, but the reason they aren't getting into flow state is that they're not getting the 3 of them lined up properly. The reason that you got into flow state and the reason that you found flow state at that time in your life is that you knew what outcome you were going for. So whether it was completing that project, or it was making the end of that event, or it was crossing the finishing line, or it was, you know, getting the job done, whatever it was that you were doing at the time, you knew what your outcome was. It was crystal clear in your mind. And that's what happens when you have a clear vision. When you have that clear vision, you just know what you're heading towards, and you start to feel good about it. And when you can see the progress in your actions, you know that everything's starting to come together. And when you get that, that's a positive reinforcement. You just start to feel that everything's going to plan. And that is an amazing feeling. And when you see the outside coming to plan, and the inside, you start to notice everything rhythmically matching up so that you can get to that outcome that you've got in your mind. One of the things that you'll do when you're in the flow state is that you'll adapt and overcome. So you will adjust to maybe you're doing something a certain way and there's a better way of doing it, or you try something and it doesn't work. Just like an aeroplane or a boat that's sailing out in sea, they're making course corrections all the time. So when you're in flow state, what you're doing is you're adapting and adjusting to things that come up. So things like hurdles and obstacles don't stop you. You just find a way to get around them. And that's the beauty of it, that you can tweak as you go along, and because you know where you're heading to and you know what the outcome is, and you just find that rhythm and that balance. And as soon as an obstacle comes up, you're on top of it. And that's the beauty of it. That's why we want to get in a flow state, because when you're there, everything seems really, really easy. Now, surely it can't be that easy to get into flow state. Well, if you don't know how to get into flow state, or you don't know how flow state's achieved, it is extremely complicated. And that's why a lot of people struggle to get there. And the reason that they struggle to get there is that they're, as I mentioned earlier, they're working on one of the 3 systems, and they might be working on 2 out of 3 or 1 out of 3, but very rarely are they aiming at 3 out of 3. And that triangle of what you need to focus on is really the key part that we're going to work on. And I'm going to show you exactly how they go together. And when I explain how they go together, the penny's going to drop for you. You're going to go, well, of course. And then you realise, well, you go, I've been trying it all this time, and no wonder I haven't been getting the result, because if I'd been doing it like that, If I'd been working with the triangle, of course I would have got it. Well, let's explain how. So when you're in the flow state, what happens is you're focused, you're determined, nothing knocks you off your stride. You can concentrate. You know what your outcome is. You can feel and sense the end or the progress, or just that sense that everything's working. Right? That's why you want to be there. See, when you're not in the flow state, do you know what happens? You have fear, you have doubt, you have uncertainty, you lack motivation. Does this sound familiar? That, you know, you start to doubt that you can make it. You start to doubt if it will ever work out. You start to doubt if you're doing the right thing. You start to doubt if you ever should have started it in the first place. I'm sure I'm preaching to the converted here. I know that you will know exactly what that feels like. So let's remove those feelings. And the best way to remove those feelings is getting into sync. Now, is it that tricky? Well, let me tell you how. The best place to start when you're doing this, right? If you think now, give yourself a thought, pause the video if you like. If you were to start anywhere, what comes to mind first is the best place to start? Have a think about it just now. Okay. Well, whatever you came up with, hold that thought. You may or may not have got this answer that I'm going to give you. The best place to start is in the morning. Very, very first thing you do when you wake up. And the reason that the very first day of my 14-day accountability challenge is all about what you do in the morning is that how you begin your day will set you up for how you're going to approach the rest of the day. Right? In a day, you've got about 40 little decisions that you make each day. And if you imagine that if you have 40 decisions a day and for as many days as you've been alive, it's really, really important how you make those decisions. Because if you make that decision to have, you know, the clean meal versus the cheat meal, the junk food versus the clean food, going training instead of taking the night off, you can't be bothered. You can see how all these decisions add up. And it's about starting your day well so that you can change your state from the off. Because if you do that, then things start to change throughout your day. So day one in the Mindset Accountability Challenge is all about your morning routine. And there's two things that you put into your morning routine. And the first one to begin with is gratitude. Now, it's one of the things that I struggled with. The gratitude part, for me, it didn't make sense. So I don't understand this. Why would I want to concentrate on what I'm grateful for? It sounded a bit airy-fairy, a bit woo-woo, a bit fluffy. Why would you focus on gratitude as the first thing in the morning? Well, I want you to think about, keep in mind that we're working towards changing our state. So what does gratitude do in terms of changing your state? Well, I remember watching a movie a few years back, and it said you can't feel happy and sad at the same time. And I wondered what that meant. I was like, I don't get that. And I thought back to a time where, you know, when you're really angry or you're, you know, really annoyed at someone, you know, but they crack a joke or they make you laugh, and you burst out laughing. It doesn't matter how hard you try and get back to angry, you can't get back there. You might still feel that you might want to be angry, but you're not angry because you've broke the pattern, you've broke the cycle, you've changed your state. You've changed that state of mind, that feeling has shifted. So when you think about what you're grateful for and you have gratitude for the things that you've got, the people that you have in your life, the things that you've achieved, no matter how small, the great opportunities that you've had, all the mistakes that you've learned from, all the skills that you've developed, all the things you've been able to do. Like, what it does is it changes you into a better mood. It puts you in a better place. You start to feel quite good about the things that you've got in your life. And even if you've got a lot going on, and even if things aren't going your way, you can still notice and appreciate the things that have went well and the things that you do actually have. And it's one of the greatest ways to prepare you. That think of this as a preparation for the next part, because what you're doing is you're priming your body, particularly your mind. You're priming your mind to get ready to feel good. Because when you think things like that you have gratitude for, what happens is you start to remember what you're grateful for. You ask that question in your mind and you say, right, what am I grateful for? You say, well, it's great that I can do this. And then you recognize, you pull up a memory about you doing it, and then you feel good because you go, yeah, I do enjoy that. I do like that. I should be grateful for that. Yes, I must be grateful for that. And that then shifts your state of mind. It shifts your focus from negative to positive. It shifts your focus from lack to what you have. And then that shifts how you feel. So from negative to positive. So the second thing that once you've primed yourself through gratitude is visualization. Now, visualization is a great tool, and I'll tell you why, is that we are blessed with the power of imagination and the ability to create and visualize things in our mind. We have this tremendous apparatus that we can use where we can so vividly visualize something that we can create a picture in our mind. And let me do an example with you. So if I was to ask you what side the handle is on your front door, is it on the left or is it on the right? What colour is your door? Does it open this way from left to right, or does it open this way from right to left? Now, if you've just done what I think you've done, and most likely have, what you've done is you've created a picture in your mind and you've visualised being at your front door, and you've reached out to the handle and asked yourself those questions. You've built a picture in your mind. That's the power of visualization, that you can recreate an image in your mind. So using this to lay out your day. So imagine that you, at the beginning of your day, have an idea of what that day is going to entail. And you can visualize all the things that you've got on that day. And just imagine that they all go well. Imagine that project flies, with ease. Everything that you pick up seems to work. Every traffic light you come to seems to be green. The sun seems to be shining a little brighter. That training session that you've got, you're looking forward to. You've never found it easier. You've never felt stronger. You've never felt fitter. You get some time to play with the kids. That walk that you wanted to take the dogs, you decide to do it. That book that you were meaning to start to read, you start to read it. And just visualize the perfect day. Imagine it all going well. It'd be easy to do it the other way. It'd be easy to just, look, try it and see what happens. Because what we're doing is we are creating a visual image of the perfect day so that we will notice and spot opportunities throughout the day as they come. And just imagine what that completely perfect day would look like for you. And what you're going to do when you do these two things is in the morning, you're going to feel a sense of gratitude. You're going to switch from however you feel to a peak version of that. You're going to feel, right, I've got a sense of gratitude. I've got great people in my life. There's great things that have happened. I've got a list of things that I should feel pretty proud about, and I feel quite good about those. And if I had the perfect day, this is what it would look like. And you can visualize that out. And that's before you've got up and put the kettle on, before you've got yourself ready. You can do all that, and it'll take you 5 minutes. Right? Just watch how that simple pattern will change how you feel. And what happens is when you realize what you do is when you notice the question about your flow state before, the flow state was about how you feel. So a component part of how you feel is your feelings are determined by what you focus on. So where your focus goes, your energy flows. So given the choice to focus on the negative or the positive, which should you pick? Negative or positive? Which one? Of course it should be the positive. If your focus is on the best possible outcome or the worst possible outcome, which one should you focus on? Now it's fine. Look, you can plan for the worst and focus on the best and cover off both angles. If it all goes Pete Tong, if it all goes south, I know what I'm doing. But if the best possible outcome, it's this, this, and this. So I know what I'm going to do if it goes wrong, and I know what I'm aiming for if it goes right. Then you can focus on that. And just watch how you're shifting how you feel. Because remember, focus is where your energy goes. And what you focus on is how you feel. right? And how you feel is what drives you forward. So make sure that you are paying attention to what you focus on. And the very first part of day one is to show you how important what your visualization is doing during the day. And it should be started at the first thing every single day: gratitude, then visualization. So rolling on to day two, mastering your emotions. So we touched on them there, is that your emotions are determined by three things. So the three things that control your emotions are your physiology, so how you use your body. I'll give you an example. Just don't feel like it today. I'm looking forward to today and I can't wait to get it done. I'm excited about the things that I'm going to get done today and can't wait to smash it out the park. Right there, it was two signs of the physiology. Now, for the listeners out there that are listening to the podcast, I'll explain. I had, on the very first one, I had my shoulders drooped down and my head down, and my everything was slumped, and my physiology was showing someone that just wasn't really motivated and wasn't really ready and wasn't really driven. The second one, shoulders back, head up, ready to go. And that's the difference physiology can make. Because there was a study done years ago by one of the famous business schools, and they were determining how important the what you said, what was the power of what you said. And they actually came up with the 7-30-8-55 rule, which was, it was 7% was what you actually said, 38 was the tone or way in which you said it, and 55% of it was your body language. And that's why body language experts can pick up on things that you may be trying to hide, because they're looking at your body language, and 55% of what they're reading, the biggest chunk of the communication, is how you present yourself. So imagine if that can portray how you're feeling. Well, imagine if you had the wherewithal to change that stance so that you could change how you felt. And that could then change your approach, and that would then change your focus, and your focus then changes how you feel, and how you feel is what you drive yourself towards. So the first thing is physiology. We concentrate on your physiology and see how we can change how you stand, how you approach it, what you're doing when you, whatever it is that you're going towards. Just think of if you were, you were going training. Like, here's a great example. You're going training, you go to walk into the gym or the running track, or you're about to head out the door, right? And you're bouncing on your toes, and you're ready, and you're feeling warm, and you're up for it, and you've got your favourite music on, and your shoulders are back, and you're ready to hit it, right? Versus, you're slumped over, you don't know where your water is, you can't be bothered listening to the music, and you just feel like, not today. Well, there's your physiology, and it's telling you exactly what is going on with you. Well, if you can change your physiology, you will change your state. So small changes in your body will make a huge difference. And remember, the second thing is your focus. So the second part of mastering your emotions is focus, what you focus on. So are you focusing on the worst outcome or the best outcome? Are you focusing on what's wrong and what you lack? Or are you focusing on the great things that you have and what could be? Are you focusing on the things that have happened during the day that haven't went well? Or are you focusing on the things that did go well? Are you focusing on, that guy, you blasted his horn, cut in front of you in traffic, and that's really sort of riled you? Do not focus on things that are going to drag you down. Don't focus on them. Given the choice, focus on the things that make you feel good. That's why we listen to music. That's why we have people that we listen to. That's why we're inspired by things. But a lot of people can fall into the trap of focusing on that thing that just annoyed them. Well, don't give it your focus. It's as simple as that. Because if you give it your focus, it'll change your physiology, and it'll put you in a bad state. It'll change how you feel. And you'll not feel great, so don't do it. And that's it. It's as simple as that. Do not do it. Do something that's the opposite of it. Find something opposing to that feeling that'll make you feel good, and put your focus there. And lastly, the third thing for day number 2 that controls how you feel, that controls your emotions, is the language you use. And I'm not talking the language you use when you're speaking to your pal, or you're on your lunch break, or what you're doing on the phone. I'm talking about that internal dialogue. So that language that you use. And for those of you that are ardent fans and have maybe had the honour and I say that tongue in cheek, of coming to me with a problem and me adding this word on, as you say, I can't do it, or I can't seem to get it to work. Right? And I'm like, right, you need to be careful with what you're saying and the words that you're using. You haven't made it work yet. You can't get a way to do it yet. You haven't found out the way that will unlock it yet. Right? Adding a small word on the end changes that whole thing. Or, why bother? It's never going to work for me anyway. Well, that's just your bad luck. Or, what's another one? Well, people like us just don't get that. Like, throw that garbage out the window, right? We'd done a call on Mount Mindset, I think it was last week or the week before, and I says, look, you ever had a day where everything's just going well? And Dave, who popped up, he says he's great. He's been on every single call, and he's literally in with the bricks and the foundations of Mount Mindset. And he says, well, that's when you know you should be watching, because your luck's about to change. Something bad's going to happen. I said, where do you think that came from? And he says, yeah, well, probably somebody said it to me. And I says, what do you think that puts? What do you think that incants onto you? Like, what do you think? How are you going to respond to that? You're now going to be looking at what could go wrong, what's the possibilities, what would happen if it went sideways. So you start to look for all the possible things. But what's the opposite of that? What if it did continue? What if you ride this vein of luck as far as it can go? What would happen if it continued? What would that look like? And then you start to spot them. We've done something called the red car theory. So the red car theory was, if I paid you £100 to notice every red car, how many red cars do you think you would spot? You'd spot loads, because it's what you would be drawn towards. And this is the thing that you start to notice, is that when you start to look for things, you will start to see them, because there's many, many systems that go on in the human body, like our breathing, like our heart rate, heartbeat, the blood flowing around our body. We ignore all of the things. We ignore lots of things that are not important to us. And it's the things that we don't focus on. And what we're displaying here is the pattern in which you can start to focus on things that will change your life, that will change your life for the better, that will give you the right feelings and get you the outcomes that you want to start having. And it's about putting those things in your mind so that you can start to spot them, just like the same as the red car. And as Dave went on, I says, what do you think you should do if you get a run of good luck? And he says, you know what? He says, you keep it going. You keep it going as long as you can get it going. And I made an example when I was young. I played football, and I says, look, when I was doing keepy uppies, which is kicking the ball as many times without, the ball touching the ground, I says that it didn't matter if it was ugly or pretty or skilled or talented or anything in between. The whole goal was to keep this ball in the air as long as possible, for as many taps as possible. It didn't matter what it took. And that's the same with your luck. It's the same with these opportunities. Keep them going. So imagine putting those in your mind to spot them, just like they're a red car. Have you ever wanted something like a new top or a new car or a new van or a new phone, and you see them everywhere? You go, where are these coming from? Well, what's happening is you put it into your brain and you start to spot them everywhere. They were always there, but you just ignored them before. Well, imagine doing that with opportunities or growth or development or results or businesses or investments or outcomes. Start putting them in. And that's why this is day number 2. Day number 2 is by starting to prime you to spot the things that you want. That is mastering emotions. Why master emotions, though? Well, it's going to improve your relationships. It's going to improve how you come across. It's going to improve your opportunities. People are going to want to work with you. It's going to improve your influence. It's going to increase your productivity, because you're going to feel so much better. And people are going to be drawn towards you. You're going to be like, this great energy about you. People like being around you because you have got something about you. And what it is your physiology, the body tells a story, the 55, the way that which you say it, the 38% part, sounds good. People can feel it. And then the words that you use, because the language is the third part, the language in which you use resonates. They love it. And that's why people will be drawn towards you. So make sure that you're paying attention to it. Remember, focus, physiology in the language you use, right? It's that simple. So that's day number 2. Day number 3, I'll say it again until I am blue in the face. Set massive, audacious, big, scary, huge, outrageous, colossal goals. They should be wild. They should be stuff that makes people go, what? If you don't have a goal that makes people do that, then your goals aren't big enough. And it's as simple as that. I'll give you an example. People have came to me for years and says, look, what do you think of, I'm thinking about doing X, Y, Z. What do you think? And I'll say something along the lines of, what's your goals? And they'll say, well, I just want to be realistic. Stop there. Right, stop with the realistic chat. And they're like, well, you've got to be realistic. I say, well, let me sum up for you what realistic means. Realistic is the killer of dreams. And I'll tell you why. Take the life that you have now and all the things that you've got and go back 5 years or maybe even 10 years and go back to 10 years ago and say, this is the life you're going to have in 10 years. I bet you would have said, then that's unrealistic. So the life that you're living now would have been unrealistic to you at some point in the past. So why should you be setting realistic goals in the future when you know that the life that you've got is unrealistic to you in the past? You should be setting unrealistic goals for your future, because your future 10 years ago, which is today, here and now, was unrealistic to you. So make sure your goals are unrealistic. That said, your big goals, if you want to see the video that I've done in 15 minutes explaining goals and why they should be audacious, come and see my mindset video. It is the most simplified, funny picture drawing. I literally drew it out with this pen and on a piece of paper, and I says, here's what happens. You set massive goals. What would you want to be in? If you had the perfect life, if everything went well in 20 years, what would it be like? What would be your dream list? It can be wild, exciting, fun. It doesn't even need to be based in reality. Do you want to live on the rings of Saturn and be an astronaut and do 15 laps around the sun? Put it down as a dream, because dreams aren't bound by the rules. Whatever it is, put it down. And then put some things in there that are also things that you would love to do. Like if everything went really well and you had a magic wand, what would your life look like? What would it look like in 20 years? Right? Have a list of things then. Where are you staying? What type of house you got? Do you have a family? What are they like? What kind of car are you driving? Where do you go around the world? How are you spending your time? Tell me about your life. If everything went well, how would that life look? And then, what about in 10 years? Well, what would be 10-year goals out of your dream list? Well, in 10 years, I could probably get this done. Tell me what your life's like then. Right? And then you get to 5 years. And you say, right, what about in 1 year? What if you had the most outrageous year of your life? What would you be doing? Tell me about that. And then you go, well, like, here's what would be a really, really amazing year for me. You say, right, write a sentence about, or a paragraph about what that life would be. Well, I would have, bought 5 investment properties and I'd started that business, and, I bought the house of my dreams, and I got that car that I'd always wanted, and I took my wife to her dream destination that we'd always wanted to go. Whatever it is, write it down. You say, right, we've got a target, we've got a clear target, and a direction to aim for, a destination in 12 months. What would be the first step, right, to get there? So it doesn't need to be you don't need it in one leap. What's the first step? I don't know. Well, would you buy 5 properties in one go, or would you buy one? I'd buy one. Right? What would be the first step? What about setting a criteria, or having a look at what's available, or running some basic numbers? That could be something you could do. Yeah. Okay. There's step number 1. What about the destination? Like, have you had a look at availability? Does that fit with where you want to go? What date would it be? Right? Okay, why don't you have a look at those? What about the car? What's the lead time in the car? Go and have a look. Are they available? Can you get one? Would it be new, used, whatever it may be? Why didn't you have a look at that? That business that you wanted to start, what would you need? Why don't you go and check websites? Why don't you go and check competitors? Why don't you do some basic analysis? Stuff that you could do. It won't take long, but it's a start. Right, and then you build a picture of, right, what would be those particular things that I would do, right? And one of the great tools that you can use is something called SMART. So SMART is an acronym that for how to set a goal. So the SMART framework, I'll not go into too much detail with it now, but I'll give you a basic overview. Is specific, so the goal needs to be specific, right? So an idea of specific would be, I'm just looking for a car that goes for A to B. I'm not really fussed about it. But that's not specific. Right? If you said, I want an Audi RS6 that's at least 700 horsepower and it's black and it has black alloys with red calipers and it has continental tires and it has the carbon pack and it has leather stitching in the seats, that's specific, right? So your goals need to be specified so that you know, just like the red car, what they look like, so you can spot them. And what we're doing is we're taking the big and making it smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller so that we can spot more of these that are out there. So that's the S part. So the M is measurable. So again, measurable is, I want to have 5 properties. Great. Well, what do you need for you? That means you need to do 5 purchases. Well, let's start with 1. So you can literally measure it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can get 5 of those in and measure them. So you can actually measure the steps that you're taking. Same with your setting up a business. You could say, well, I need to register a company. I need to pick a company. You can measure that you're taking little steps towards that. So we've got specific, we've got measurable, and the next one is achievable. So achievable means like you want to set a goal that is possible. And again, possible and realistic are different, so don't get semantics at this point in time. Possible in the sense that you could do it in a particular amount of time. So like, for instance, you wanted to build the Great Pyramids in 20 days, not happening. But it's not achievable unless you have unearthed some alien technology. We'll save that for the conspiracy theories episode. This is Mount Mindset. We're going to get stuck in. We're going to keep on track. No tangents here until the next episode with Big Mikey. So it needs to be achievable. And achievable in the sense that you're measuring it is possible within the timeline that you've set. And again, it's these things that you want to make sure that you get dialed in. So, like, for instance, if you wanted to complete your first marathon with a week's worth of training, is it possible? Yes. Is it achievable? Maybe. Should you do it? Maybe you want to go for the next date and put in a decent training plan, because you're going to have a better time if you do it in a different way. So that achievable is to keep you on the path that's going to give you the best possible result. And that's what you want when you're setting these goals. The other thing, the R for SMART, is relevant. So relevant means, you wanted to book that perfect destination that was, in the Maldives, and you wanted to have the floating sort of villa that's sits on stilts above the water, and it's out at sea and it's swishing. You got a slide that goes into the water. You've got it dialed in, but you end up in a caravan park in the middle of nowhere. It's not the same place. It's not relevant to your goal. Or you are looking to set up a business in technology or the information age, and someone comes to you with the idea of setting up a bingo hall. It's not relevant, so ignore it. If it's not meeting your goals, then don't take part in it. You need to take actions that are relevant for what you're aiming for. And anything that isn't in line with what you're aiming for, you need to make sure that you don't take part in them. And that's why you need to make sure that your specific actions are relevant. time bound as well. So all your goals should be measurable by time. So you should know that you can achieve, rather than having an open goal. A classic case is, drives me bonkers, as a guy who started his investment career in the world of property. I understand the idea of property sitting idle or losing money, because when they're doing nothing, they're not actually working as an investment. They're a noose around your neck. So it's important to have those properties earning money as soon as possible. So when you watch Homes Under the Hammer, for instance, and they've got, I want to get involved in property, and maybe their goal was to buy an investment property, but they don't have the time bound part. So what they do is they take 9 months to paint a living room, and we visited Joan and Jill, and they've carried out a refurb today, and they've put 2 rows of tiles on and painted the bathroom. It's like, you've done nothing. You need to have these goals so that you're making sure that you're taking steps all the time. But you do that, what you're going to find is that you're going to say, I don't know how this happened, but my results seem to be turbocharged, and it's because you're working to push all the time. You're becoming more efficient, and you're spotting all the places that you can speed up getting closer to that result. And that's why the SMART framework is an ideal place to begin. Now, that's an overview. We go into it in much more detail. We'll give you examples. I can share my own ones that I've used in investments, training plans, events that I've took part in, where you can use this SMART framework in anything. And there is not a time that I haven't done this and been blown away. The outcomes that I got were far in excess of what I wrote in that SMART framework. That's the power of doing it. It's going to cost you your time and your focus to do it, but it will blow you away by the results that you will get when you put in the work. So hope you enjoyed this sneak peek into the world of the 14-day accountability challenge from Mount Mindset. Why it's important to master your emotions. What is the flow state? What can you do when you get in peak state? And how do you get there? So we covered them off. And if you liked what those 3 days have got, you are going to love what the 11 others have got in store for you. So if you like the idea of that, you can sign up. The link will be in the show notes. You can come visit my website, geomcnee.com. You'll be able to purchase the accountability course. You can sign up, you can get rocking and rolling, and you can start to make some big changes in your life. So hope you enjoyed that. Give me a follow on all the social media channels. You can see the clips, the shorts, and the chapters on YouTube and anywhere else that you can see videos. And if you've got any comments, I'd love to hear from you. And if you can make it along this Sunday, love to see you. 2 o'clock, Balmaha at Loch Lomond. We're going to climb Conic Hill. It's the inaugural meetup for Mount Mindset. Bring the kids, bring the dogs. It's not a hard climb particularly. It's not very long, but it's hard enough that it's worthwhile and well worth a day out. And if you like the idea of breaking free your limiting beliefs and starting afresh and starting to make some moves in the right direction, then get your butt along, because there'll be people that are looking to do just the same as you, and we'd love to see you there. And from me this week, that's a wrap.